Chapter 21. Can't Kill You. The ferocious tide surged forward, crashing with unstoppable force, then receded in slow withdrawal, wave upon wave, rising higher each time, ceaseless and relentless. Shu Botian felt as though he had been cast adrift upon a vast ocean, lifted high, then dragged under, swept helplessly along with the current. But it hurt. The pain in his limbs and bones grew sharper and clearer as if his body had been dismantled piece by piece and then clumsily reassembled by unskilled hands. Each breath he drew tugged at 1,000 misaligned nerves, setting them all throbbing in unison. And there was another kind of pain, strange, unlike the rest. It came from a part of him that could not be spoken of, a dull ache tinged with swelling soreness, winding and twisting, subtle but impossible to ignore, hidden beneath the storm of agony that consumed the rest of him. His head was clouded, heavy, even the strength to lift his eyelids beyond him. After several failed attempts, Zhu Botian finally managed to crack them open a sliver. What met his gaze was a sheet metal wall mottled with rust. In the corner of the wall stretched a vast spider web, and hanging in its center was a plump, barefoot spider staring straight at him. A shiver jolted through Shubotian. He hastily averted his eyes. Ever since childhood, he had been terrified of creatures with too many legs. Once frightened so badly he had wailed like a little girl. Now, on the verge of 30, the weakness had not only persisted but worsened with age. That fright shocked him into clearer thought. Only then did Yupotian realize he was lying face down on a crude bed, his body rocking in short, involuntary jolts, like the ebb and flow of the tide itself. With each jolt, that unspeakable place on his body spasmed, the sore, swollen itch of it surging through every vein and nerve in an instant. What the hell is going on? Shu Botian shook his head, the fog in his mind scattering a little more. He could hear it then, the heavy rasp of breath, a man's breath, thick with suppressed hunger, each exhale carrying waves of blistering heat. Shu Botian had been fooling around with women before he had even grown all his hair, so naturally he knew exactly what that sound meant. The thought made every hair on his body stand on end. Panic-stricken, he clenched his ass cheeks tight, only to hear in the next moment the man behind him loose an uncontrollable guttural groan. "Fuck your mother. Are you looking to die? You dare touch your grandpa?" Ignoring the agony racking his body, Zhu Botian thrashed with all the strength he could muster, as if drawing on even the same desperate force he had once used as a newborn fighting for milk. Yet no matter how fiercely he struggled, he could not shake off the overwhelming power pressing down on him from behind. His head was forced down into the pillow, a broad palm pressing firmly against the back of his skull. "Awake?" The man behind him spoke, his breath uneven. Judging by his voice, he must be very young. "Don't move. I'm not done yet." "Fuck your damn grandpa. If you don't want to die, get the hell off me right now." The hand pinning his head in place was wide and iron strong. Shu Botian could not break free. All he could do was snarl and whimper viciously into the bedding. His waist shook like a rattled drum, yet he still couldn't rid himself of that wretched intrusion. Humiliation burned Shu Botian to the bone. He clenched his teeth until his jaw ached, but tears he could not control spilling hot and furious from the corners of his eyes. Smack! 200 yuan slapped down against the side of his face. From behind him came a voice tinged with a helplessness that seemed almost incongruous. "I know you're hurt. I'll be gentle. Don't cry." "Fuck your mother's cunt." Shu Botian was no saint, no meek man of virtue. The words that spat from his mouth were filthy and venomous. But who could blame him? His head was forced down, his arms wrenched and bound behind his back. The only part of him left with freedom was his tongue. Something was suddenly stuffed into his mouth, cutting off his curses. Dropping his gaze, he caught sight of the fabric's edge, the CK logo printed clear. It was his own underwear. 10,000 curses stormed throughout his heart. every foul word of the national profanities repeated again and again, but still his body was driven forward in relentless surges, like waves crashing against the shore. "You're not satisfied?" The man's voice came again, calm as ever. "I can't pay you more. You're not good looking. You're not worth that much." Fuck. What kind of twisted shit was that? Shu Botian cursed inwardly, hating that he didn't have two mouths, so he could curse the son of a bitch to death. He had no idea how much time had passed before the man finally began to move faster, pounding like a mortar. At last came a low, guttural roar, and the weight of him crashed down heavy on Zhu Botian's body. Shu Botian, battered with wounds, persecuted and shamed, felt the crushing weight press down on him like a mountain, half his life snuffed out beneath it. A muffled groan slipped from his throat, fine beads of sweat breaking out across his brow from the pain. The man seemed to sense something amiss. He rose from atop him, pulled out, stripped off the condom, and sat on the edge of the bed, chest heaving with rough breaths. Freed from his restraints, Shu Botian immediately yanked the soft fabric from his mouth and let loose a torrent of curses. "Fuck your ancestor!" Abruptly, his voice cut off. In the dim light, the man sitting at the bedside cast him a sidelong glance. The taut lines of his powerful body and the sharp glint in his eyes made Zhu Botian's muscles seize with fear. Instinctively, he shut his mouth. "If you keep on with your fuck this, fuck that, I'll fuck you again." The man stood and pulled on his pants. Shu Botian hadn't managed to see his face clearly, but the sheer size of what the man withdrew with left him frozen in shock. He turned his head, glancing back at his own ravaged rear, disbelief written plain across his features. "You're not hurt, don't worry. The foreplay was more than enough." "Fuck you." The words shot to his lips, but Zhu Botian recalled the man's earlier warning and swallowed them down, silenced in an instant. His chest burned with grievance and shame. He felt wronged and humiliated. Someone had inexplicably taken advantage of him, and now he didn't even dare to hurl a single insult. Biting back the pain, he scrambled up to search for his phone. The man, already buttoning his pants, fished Zhu Botian's phone out of the pile of clothes and held it out. Snatching it in fury, Shu Botian unlocked the screen and jabbed at the keypad. "I'm calling the fucking police right now. Let them drive your rapist ass away." "What are you doing?" The man seized the phone, cut the call, and frowned at him. "Why call the police?" "You raped me. We agreed to this." "Bullshit. I'm a fucking straight man." The man clicked his tongue, crouching slowly at the bedside, eyes fixed on Shu Botian. "I heard people say that on Bar Street you can find those willing to sell themselves. In that alley you were the only one. You begged me to take you out. I said I was looking for someone to sleep with. You said yes. I said my place was a bit far. You said it didn't matter. As long as I took you away from that alley, anywhere was fine." Lies, all lies. A jumble of fractured images seemed to flicker through Zhu Botian's mind. A tall figure, just like now, crouching in front of him and saying, "Where I live is a bit far, and the conditions aren't good. I'd just been beaten half to death, and I wasn't in my right mind. You couldn't tell that was nonsense?" "Hard to tell the difference. Besides, I'm already covered in wounds. Yet you still had the heart to lay your hands on me." "It's indeed ugly, but you begged me to take you away. I've always been a soft-hearted person." Fuck. Despair crashed over Zhu Botian. He collapsed back onto the bed, gritting his teeth as he spat out, "Just wait and see if I don't kill you." End of chapter 21. Chapter 22. Third-rate actor. Fan Xiao had been feeling irritable lately. A person who had always loved darkness now found himself resenting the fall of dusk. He actually switched on the light. The crystal chandelier, rarely used and gleaming with a cold brilliance, flared to life tonight, its sharp gleam shutting out the night beyond the windows. A matchbox was flipping swiftly between his fingers. Sitting on the sofa, Fan Xiao's face was set and grim, as if facing a formidable enemy. He had sent Shi Lua a message asking him out for some late night indulgence. But when the time came, he hung up on Shilua's call and stood him up. The matchbox suddenly stilled, trapped in his palm. Fan Xiao gave a faint, wry smile, fished out a cigarette, and tossed it between his lips. The moment a spark of crimson flared to life at the tip, the crystal chandelier dimmed. The rectangular glow of the computer screen took its place, illuminating the room as it did every night. Fan Xiao tracked the progress bar of the dashcam video forward, skipping straight to the part where Yu Shulang, bound by desire's control, endured in silence, his restraint clashing against the raw allure of flesh. Unable to hold himself back any longer, he reached out and unzipped his pants. His long fingers, resting on the back of the sofa, held a cigarette with an impossibly long ash. In the next moment, a spasm coursed through him, and the ash fell in a scattered rush, peppering the white carpet with grey-black specks. Sometimes that cigarette would be caught between his lips, and then the man's low, trembling sounds of arousal would fade for a while. The empty room would fill only with Yu Shulang's stifled moans, accompanied by the rhythmic sound of his body moving, sliding up and down, sometimes faster, sometimes slower, but never ceasing. Fan Xiao crushed out the cigarette butt, letting the last mouthful of smoke roll deep through his lungs before exhaling. On the screen, the man in the video was already nearing the end. Fan Xiao remembered every detail of the process of his action. At 18 minutes and 24 seconds, Yu Shulang would tilt his chin up, exposing the slender, delicate line of his neck. So tempting to bite it. The sliding Adam's apple, the sheen of sweat beading his skin, the muted rouge of his lips in the dim light, like a mandala flower blooming slowly in a sea of karmic fire, eerie and seductive, yet extraordinarily beautiful. It conjured illusions, luring one toward ruin. He badly wanted to bite it. The desire that was unmet curdled into a violent restlessness within his body. Fan Xiao snapped the laptop shut, expelling the alluring phantom of Yu Shulang, who clung to him like a sultry shadow. The room plunged into darkness again. Fan Xiao couldn't zip up his pants. He hadn't released yet, which only made him all the more irritable. The matchbox was once again in his hand, flicking and turning between his fingers. Those who knew Fan Xiao understood this was the moment one must never provoke him, or the consequences would be disastrous. And just then, as luck would have it, the phone rang. In the dark, Fan Xiao stared at the name flashing on the screen. His face, gloomy and cold, looked like that of a ghost looming at the edge of an abyss. At the very last ring, he slid to answer. His voice was smooth, gentle, pleasant to hear. Shen, what's the matter? Calling me so late? You want to meet me? Sure, I'd love to. Where are you? I'll head over now. All right, wait for me. See you in a bit. After hanging up the phone, Fan Xiao smiled. The bar lights flickered between bright and dim, casting reflections of a world steeped in indulgence and excess. The air was thick with the scent of alcohol and nicotine, and the long suppressed urge for revelry stirred awake within people's bodies, finally breaking free in reckless abandon. By the time Fanchio arrived, Lucian was already showing signs of being tipsy. His eyes were hazy on the surface, yet clear underneath, a kind of deliberate blur that to Fanchio only felt dull and uninteresting. He knew exactly what Lucian was trying to do. For some time now, Lucian had been testing him. The affection Fanchio showed, neither distant nor close, never spoken aloud, left Lucian with no choice but to keep testing in different ways, like now, by pretending to be drunk. When Lucian leaned his body into Fanchio's arms, Fanchio didn't push him away. He even let his hand rest against him in a loose embrace. The touch was different from Yu Shulang's, softer, slimmer. His build and muscles lacked Yu Shulang's firm, fluid strength. The feel beneath his palm was rather unremarkable. Fan Xiao tilted his head slightly, breathing in the scent of Lucian's hair. It was different from Yu Shulang's. and in that difference he found a trace of satisfaction. His movement carried a hint of intimacy, and a faint blush spread across Lucian's cheeks. What's wrong? Are you drunk? Fanchio let a shade of concern soften his tone. Do you want me to take you home? Lucian's long lashes trembled incessantly, carrying a helpless fragility. He let out a soft that stirred one's pity. My head hurts so badly. I'm afraid I'll have to trouble Mr. Fan to take me home. No trouble at all. I'm happy to help. Wait here a moment. I'll just go to the restroom. When I get back, we'll head out. Lucian nodded and, playing the part of one overcome by drink, struggled out of Fanchio's arms. The man's embrace was warm, and Lucian lingered in it for a moment, unwilling to pull away. His shoulders were broad and solid, even more comfortable to lean against than Yushalang's. A sudden ripple tore through Lucian's heart. His fingers clenched tightly around the fabric of his pants, unspeakable sorrow surging up like a tide, slowly drowning the chambers of his heart. Why had he thought of Yushulang? He cursed himself. He had already made up his mind countless times he would break up with Yushulang. Before Fanjia appeared, Yushulang had been heaven's gift to him, mature, reserved, gentle, and considerate. Though he was gay, he had hardly interacted with others in the same circle. His private life was as clean as a blank sheet of paper. He was neither fickle nor promiscuous. Apart from his tendency to act like the family patriarch, there was scarcely a flaw to be found in him. Yu Shulang was the first man who had made Lucian think of forever. He had once wept beneath the covers in the warmth of their intimacy as he begged Yu Shulang to marry him. He still remembered how the man had smiled faintly then, patting his shoulder as if coaxing a child, and said softly, "All right, as long as you want it, I'll marry you. Some day we can even go abroad and get that marriage certificate. How about it?" The fingers curled around his wine glass tightened gradually. Lucian lifted it and took a slow, measured sip. His phone still held the record of the flight inquiry of that time, yet now all he could think about was how to open his mouth and tell Yu Shulang he wanted to break up. When someone begins to want to leave the other person of their own accord, they will unconsciously start searching for that person's flaws again and again. Lucian had done the same. He had thought long and hard, yet he could not find a single real fault that truly counted. If he were forced to name one, it would only be this: Yushalang was too difficult to understand. Lucian felt as though a veil of mist and sand lay between them, thin, ethereal, yet impenetrable. He could hold him, kiss him, even sleep with him, and still he could not truly see him, could not touch the core of who he was. Yushulang was always accommodating of Lucian's suggestions, thoughts, and wishes. He was always accepting, always shouldering everything that came from Lucian. Even when something troubled or displeased him, he would find a way to bear it on his own. Yet before Lucian, he seldom revealed his own desires, rarely voiced his own opinions. That contradiction gnawed at Lucian. On one hand, he relished the satisfaction of unconditional support from his lover. On the other hand, he was consumed with the deep frustration of never truly being able to understand him. Especially after the moments of passionate intimacy, his sense of frustration would intensify. The satiation in the man's eyes faded swiftly, replaced by desolation and emptiness. There were emotions in Yu Shulang's gaze that Lucian could not decipher. No matter the past, the present, or what lay ahead, Lucian felt that Yu Shulang's world was one he could neither break into nor step inside. And then he met Fan Xiao. Lucian took a big sip of his wine. The melancholic feeling lingering in his chest gradually ebbed away, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of his lips. One could say that Fangio was the perfect lover, handsome, wealthy, yet also embodying the same gentleness and consideration that Yu Shulang had. Most importantly, though Fangio was just as mature and charming, he was far more articulate than Yu Shulang, able to spin talk of childhood memories, the neighbor's husky, the towering breadfruit tree, or even workplace gossip into easy conversation. Fan Xiao liked everything he himself liked, and disliked everything he himself despised. Whether it was objects or people, their judgments and opinions were always in perfect harmony. I won't allow anyone to bully our Shenshen. Whoever hurts you, makes you sad, is my enemy. He had spoken countless moving words of affection, yet never once had he spoken the simple phrase, I like you. Even when that crown had been placed upon his head, Lucian never heard the natural, inevitable confession from Fanchio's lips. He drained the last of his drink slowly. By the time he set the glass back down on the table, a dizzy haze was already creeping in. It felt as though a hidden flame had been lit deep inside his body, searing upward from some secret place, leaving him fevered, exhilarated, almost unbearably aroused. It seemed he truly was drunk. From within the dim light, a pair of eyes hid in the shadows, watching coldly and absorbing everything into their gaze. Ash tapped free from the end of the cigarette, and a low voice sounded, This time it's your turn. I can't possibly make two with only one third rate actor. End of chapter 22.